Should you be a monster? That sounds absolutely insane, doesn't it? We've been told our entire lives to be kind, to be harmless, to never hurt anyone. We've been conditioned to believe that being good means being weak, that virtue equals passivity. But what if I told you that this advice, this comfortable lie we've all been fed, is actually destroying your potential and turning you into a victim? Jordan Peterson says you should be a monster, not a villain, not cruel, but an absolute monster who has learned control. And once you understand why, everything about your life will start to make sense.
If you're tired of being told that weakness is a virtue, and you're ready to discover what real strength actually looks like, then hit that subscribe button right now. Because what we're about to explore will challenge everything you thought you knew about morality, power, and what it really means to be a good person. Let's start with something uncomfortable. If you're harmless, you're not virtuous. You're just harmless. There's a massive difference. Think about a rabbit. Is a rabbit a moral creature? Is it virtuous because it doesn't hurt anyone? No. It's just incapable of doing harm. It can't choose to be good because it has no capacity to be dangerous. The rabbit doesn't get moral credit for being prey. It simply exists at the mercy of everything around it. And here's the brutal truth. That's what most people have become. They've been turned into rabbits, told that their inability to defend themselves is somehow noble. They call it being nice. They call it being good. But it's not virtue. It's just weakness dressed up in moral language. Peterson makes this distinction crystal clear. If you're a monster and you don't act monstrously, then you're virtuous. But you also have to be capable of being a monster in the first place. Real virtue requires the capacity for the opposite. You can't be brave without the capacity for fear. You can't be generous without the ability to be selfish. And you can't be good without the potential to be terrible. This is why people who haven't integrated what Jung called the shadow, the dark parts of themselves, walk around naive and resentful. You can see it in their eyes. They get taken advantage of constantly because predators can smell harmlessness from a mile away. These people wonder why life keeps beating them down, why they're always the victim, why nobody respects them. The answer is simple. Respect isn't given to the harmless. It's given to the dangerous who choose restraint.
This isn't some new idea Peterson invented. This pattern shows up everywhere in human mythology and storytelling because it represents a fundamental truth about human nature. Look at Harry Potter. He's not a perfect, rule-following good boy. He can talk to snakes, the language of dark wizards. He breaks rules constantly. He has evil literally inside him. But that's exactly what makes him a hero. If he was just obedient and harmless, he couldn't have defeated Voldemort. His capacity for darkness, channeled properly, is what saves the world. Batman? A man who dresses up as a creature of nightmares and uses fear as a weapon. He's terrifying. He operates in moral gray zones. But he's a hero precisely because he's dangerous and chooses to direct that danger toward justice. Every hero's journey follows this pattern. The protagonist must descend into darkness, must face their own capacity for evil, must develop their dangerous side before they can truly become good. Why? Because without that integration, they remain children, naive, vulnerable, and ultimately useless when real challenges arise. If you want to be a fighter, you have to want to win. You have to develop the capacity to hurt people, not for the sake of cruelty, but because that capability is what makes you formidable. That's what separates you from an evil person, not the absence of dangerous capability, but the control of it. We've spent 60 years in this culture having an endless conversation about rights and almost no conversation about responsibility. And that's left a gaping hole in people's hearts. Rights without responsibilities is like a sword without a wielder, dangerous and purposeless. But responsibility? That's where people find the meaning that sustains them through life. Not in happiness, not in pleasure. Those blow away at the first sign of real difficulty. When you adopt responsibility for your own well-being, when you try to put your family together, when you serve your community and seek truth, that's what grounds you enough to withstand the actual difficulties of life. And developing your dangerous side, your monster, is part of that responsibility. Here's what nobody wants to say. The people who shoot up schools, who commit random acts of violence, who explode in rage, they're not dangerous people who lost control. They're weak people who never developed proper strength. They're harmless rabbits who got so bitter from being victims that they lashed out in the only way their undeveloped selves knew: how. You become dangerous when you're weak and resentful, not when you're strong and integrated. If this perspective is resonating with you, if you're starting to see how being nice might actually be holding you back, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. We're diving even deeper, and you don't want to miss what comes next. There's a famous line from the Bible: "The meek shall inherit the earth." And for generations, people have interpreted this to mean weak, passive, harmless people will eventually win. But that's a mistranslation that's caused enormous damage. The original meaning is closer to this: those who have swords and know how to use them but keep them sheathed will inherit the earth. Do you see the difference? It's not about being incapable of violence. It's about being capable of violence and choosing peace. That's an entirely different moral category. You have to be powerful and formidable and then peaceful, in that order. Being naive, weak, and harmless isn't a virtue, it's a liability. It means you can't withstand tragedy, you can't bear responsibility. You'll end up bitter when life inevitably hits you hard. And bitter people are far more dangerous than strong people because their danger is unconscious and uncontrolled. Here's where it gets really counterintuitive. Someone who is incapable of cruelty is not a higher moral being than someone who is capable of cruelty. This sounds wrong on the surface, but think it through. If you're not capable of cruelty, you are absolutely a victim to anyone who is. You have no defense. You have no deterrent. You're at the complete mercy of anyone willing to use force against you. This is why people are drawn to anti-heroes and villains in fiction. There's a part of us crying out for the incorporation of the monster within, because that's what gives us strength of character and self-respect. It's impossible to respect yourself until you grow teeth. When you realize you're dangerous, maybe even seriously dangerous, you become more willing to demand that you treat yourself with respect and that others do the same. Not because being cruel is good, but because being capable of cruelty and choosing not to be cruel is better than being incapable of it in the first place. Many martial arts philosophies understand this completely. They're not training you to fight, they're training you to be peaceful and awake and avoid fights. But the paradox is that being competent at fighting actually decreases the probability that you'll have to fight. Why? Because when someone pushes you, you can respond with confidence, and that show of confidence is often enough to make bullies back off. The strength you develop in your monstrousness is actually your best guarantee of peace. Carl Jung called this integrating the shadow, and he said it was a terrible thing for people to attempt. Why? Because the human shadow, all those things about yourself you don't want to realize, reaches all the way to hell. What does that mean practically? It means that when you truly examine your own shadow, you come to understand why other people are capable of terrible atrocities. More disturbingly, you realize you're capable of them too. When you study Nazi Germany or the Soviet Union under Stalin, and you ask yourself what those perpetrators were like, the answer is uncomfortable. They were just like you. Not different, not special, not uniquely evil. Just ordinary people who never integrated their shadow, never developed conscious control over their dark side. If you don't know that, if you think you're fundamentally different from people who commit atrocities, then you don't know anything about human nature, including your own. And without that understanding, there's no possibility of bringing your own darkness under control. This is why the path to enlightenment and wisdom is so rarely traveled. If it was just a matter of following your bliss and doing what makes you happy, everyone would be wise. But it's not that at all. It's about facing the thing you least want to face. Here's something fascinating. Recognizing yourself as a potential locus of evil actually gives you more respect for yourself. It sounds backwards, but it's true. It's the same respect you might have for a wild animal or even a monster. Once you understand what you're capable of, you start treating yourself differently. You become more careful, more disciplined, more controlled. This is particularly important when it comes to raising children. If you understand you're a monster, and that monstrousness will manifest itself either consciously or unconsciously, and unconsciously is far worse, you become better at discipline. Why? Because you don't want to expose children to your dark side. If they behave and don't provoke the monster in you, that part can stay in abeyance. But if you're not aware of your capacity for havoc, if you deny your shadow, you'll absolutely take revenge, even if you don't consciously intend to. This is the whole Freudian story in a nutshell. You either have your shadow, or it has you. Those are the only options. So what does this actually mean for your life? How do you become a monster in the right way? First, stop lying to yourself about your capacity for darkness. You're capable of terrible things. Acknowledge it. Don't suppress it or pretend it doesn't exist. Second, develop genuine competence and power. Learn to fight, even if you never throw a punch. Build your body, sharpen your mind, develop skills that make you formidable. Become someone who could cause damage if they chose to. Third, learn control. This is where discipline, responsibility, and virtue actually come in. The monster must be trained, directed, channeled towards productive ends. You're not developing danger for its own sake. You're developing it so you can protect what matters. Fourth, embrace responsibility. Dangerous capability without purpose is just chaos. But dangerous capability in service of responsibility, taking care of your family, serving your community, pursuing truth, that's when you become truly powerful. The modern world wants to castrate you. It wants to convince you that safety comes from removing your teeth, from becoming harmless. But you don't become safe by being castrated. You become a victim. Real safety comes from being dangerous and choosing good. Real virtue comes from having the capacity for evil and choosing good. Real respect comes from being a monster who has learned peace. Be dangerous. Grow teeth. Integrate your shadow. Become a monster, an absolute monster, and then learn how to control it. Because at the end of the day, the world doesn't need more harmless people who call their weakness virtue. The world needs strong people who have faced their own darkness, developed their power, and chosen to use it responsibly. That's what Jordan Peterson means when he says you should be a monster. Not cruel, not evil, but capable, dangerous, formidable, and under control. And that's where we'll leave it today. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect moment to do so. Hit that subscribe button and drop a like on this video if it challenged the way you think about strength and virtue. And don't stop here. Check out the next video on your screen to continue exploring these ideas and discover more uncomfortable truths that can transform your life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.